Hello everyone again. My name is obviously Devyaterikov, and I will tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm working in game industry for 14 years right now, 10 of them in mobile games, and last 5 years I'm working at Belka Games at Clockmaker project. I started as quality assurance tester, and now I am producer. Basically what I do, I work at the intersection of game design, game analytics, and product management. So what we are going to talk about today. In today's gaming world, it's not enough to just have a good game, obviously. You need to create a strong LiveOps. What does it mean? You need to have more updates, more content, more events, more discounts, better graphics, higher quality, and so on. I think every one of you knows about it. But here is the question. Why LiveOps for some people works great and for other studios doesn't work at all? They just face churn. Honestly, I don't know either, but let me tell you about how we at Belka Games and specifically at Clockmakers deal with LiveOps and how our LiveOps took us to the next, the higher league. As you can see, this is top 100 grossing games in US since 2017, and it's a pretty good result for a 10 years old game. So, today I will tell you 7 principles on how to make your LiveOps perform better. I need to go through a little disclaimer here. It's not even a principles, it's more like life hacks, or you can call them just advices. But in generally, I pick 7 of them by myself, and they are mostly uncommon, easy to implement, practical, and we have proven result. And before I start, I need to tell a couple of words about my company. Belka Games, developing games since 2010. Currently we have 3 popular games. It's Clockmaker, Bermuda Adventures, and Solitaire Cruise. Later this year we will have some new juicy releases, so stay with us. We handle every aspect of game development, from marketing process to creating of prototypes, LiveOps, and analytics. Together, Solitaire Cruise, Clockmaker, and Bermuda Adventures have more than 1 million monthly active users. So let's start with the most boring one, a proper schedule. But actually, it's quite crucial, as you can see. On the left, you can see a schedule from 2017, and on the right, you can see a schedule from now. Of course, names of the events are hidden, but you can see a huge difference. So, how can your project came to the result like that, and how it could benefit from that? Let's find out. First, you need to create a 1-week cycle of events. Of course, if you don't have that number of events to create a 1-week cycle, you need to focus on that first. But after that, you need to create those alternative goals to keep players engaged between hard levels in core gameplay. It's crucial that you have always alternative goals for player to keep them engaged. Of course, don't forget about discounts and obviously interceptions in the schedule allowed. They sometimes even makes your schedule better. The schedule is filled. What next? So you created a whole month out of those 1-week cycles, and you need to start experiment. First of all, experiment with frequency and length of the events. Some events might bore players earlier than others, and some of them more engagement than you thought. So you need to look through those engagement funnels and find those problems, so shorten or extend those events correspondingly. Next thing you should try is to set parallel streams of the same type of events. For example, if you have two different types of tournaments, you can run them simultaneously. It could increase players' activity and engagement. And the last one is combinations. So sometimes events with different mechanics complement each other. But at the other hand, sometimes they divert player attention and you reduce at the same time monetization and in-game activity. So try different combinations. And don't forget about calendar holidays. Everyone knows about it and it seems pretty obvious, but some studios don't pay real attention to that fact. For example, people in US start to prepare for Halloween in the middle of August, and they celebrate the Halloween from the 1st of October till the very last day in the month. So don't hesitate to remake your established schedule and align your redesigned events or discounts with the dates of calendar celebrations. The next one is one of my favorite: reuse and loop the content. Many game designers here will instantly say how we can show the player the same thing. They are not going to play the same thing again. They will churn, they will lose engagement, and so on. In ideal world of paid games, obviously it could be true. A unique gaming experience only played once. But let's look how things really work. For example, do you want to replay your favorite games? For example, Last of Us, or maybe, I don't know, Heavy Rain? Raise your hands if you replayed your favorite games. So you don't be shy. Yeah, okay, I see. A lot of you replay your favorite games, and obviously it's the case. So practice shows us that players really enjoy replaying old events. And sometimes engagement not even drop, but even increases. And it's easy to imagine. Remember, for example, how you rewatched Friends series in a row, or for example, then you rewatched Terminator 2 for the 5th time. It doesn't bore you, right? So, or maybe you got that platinum trophy in Dark Souls for completing New Game Plus. Yeah, I hope that some hardcore players also did it. So here's my tips and tricks how to reuse and loop your content. First of all, just reuse best content you have. Don't be shy. Just in 2 or 3 months, your player base will be significantly refreshed. And those new players just will play with a joy this content they have never seen before. At the same time, old players could invest their time and money to get those rewards they haven't got for the first time. On the screenshot, you can see one of our favorite players' event. It's called Clockmaker's Illusion. It has been relaunched more than 10 times. The next thing, plan your content looping during the feature design. On the left, you can see our merge mechanics. We had a case that we create this event, and basically what you need to do here is to create jewelry pieces out of jewelry gems. To complete the whole event, you need to complete 3 jewelry pieces. But we added the 4th jewelry piece to those players who finished the event ahead of the time, and we looped that fourth jewelry piece. After we launched this event, we found out that players who finished the event ahead of the time completed this fourth piece of jewelry 3 or 4 times. And I need to say that this event was kind of successful. And at the same time, in this merge event, we had a problem. We hadn't provided a possibility to add new content to it. But it was kind of successful, so we wanted to do it. And for 2 months, we were launching this event just with an old content, but with the possibility to replay those jewelry pieces in a row. So looping kind of saved us in this period, because engagement not even dropped for these 2 months, and we just added new content later. On the right, you can see our regular game mechanics. It's called puzzles. Basically, what you need to do here is to collect puzzle pieces in hard match 3 levels and assemble pictures from them. Players regularly complained they lacked for new pictures because we have only 10 of them in the game. But mechanics were so crucial for them, so we decided to add new pictures like every update. But complaints were still going on. And what we tried to do is to loop those puzzles from the beginning. So we allowed our players to play the first pictures and just enjoy the content they had before. From that period, from that time we decided to do that, we haven't received a single complaint that they haven't enough pictures to play. So it was a quite good result. And the last advice here. Obviously, you need to plan adding new content during the production phase. If suddenly LiveOps content runs out and players want more. Moving to the next one. Easy to learn, hard to master. I think every one of you heard about it. It's Nintendo's principle how to make their games better. And if you watched last Tetris movie, I think that you're familiar with that. Nintendo knows best how to win hearts and minds of those million, not even sometimes players, but ordinary people. And if you play Tetris or Mario Brothers, you will instantly feel that you have those simple mechanics, which is pretty self-explanatory, but you start to enjoy them from the very first second. But further you deep into the gameplay, more variety and more goals you find along the way. So why it's so important? When you design events, it's very important to remember that in addition to those events that you currently have live, you have other things in the game, like core loop, plot, meta, side mechanics, and so on. So players' attention is already spread widely across multiple things. If your event is too complex, it will be difficult to figure out how it works and stay focused. But at the same time, if your event is too simple and don't have those layers of gameplay, interest will be lost very, very quickly. So I will show you a couple of examples. Again, this is our merge event, and it's very easy to start. You play match 3 levels and collect those jewels to merge them during the event's gameplay. But along with the process, the more difficult jewelry pieces you have, the more difficult task becomes. And it's not only about quantity, it's also about quality of those jewelry pieces. So players stays engaged for the whole event. And on the right, there is our old train event. It's also very easy to start. You start to collect those tickets in match levels, and your train start to move around the map. But at the train stop, you faced with a choice. You can take small rewards of boosters, or you can take additional tickets to go to the main prize of the event faster. This way, we created a more complex event which engaged player longer. Also, this approach helps us to relaunch those events without losing engagement. Using this principle, we created one of the most successful events in a clockmaker in all the time of operation. So this is my favorite one. The sooner the better. Have you ever heard that content should be served in portions? That player can't figure out the game mechanics if you dump everything on them at once. Usually, as examples, game designers or producers start talking about AAA games, for example, like Final Fantasy. And there you can face new tutorials like after 10 hours of gameplay. Or it's quite usual to refer to your competitors where new game mechanics spread evenly across first sessions. But for the vast majority of mobile projects, this approach wouldn't work. And I will tell you why. Returning to that question. Premium titles stretch their mechanics across the whole gameplay to make players engaged after 10, 12, or even 100 hours of gameplay. And at the same time, leaders of the mobile market conducted so many tests that they know exactly the place and time where new mechanics should be introduced. Or they just don't know, and we just blindly follow their examples to make our games look like theirs and perform like theirs. All of our experiments showed quite opposite. The earlier you introduce performance mechanics, the better result is. Players play more, pay more, engage more, and churn less. So, for a player who just download your game, you don't have much time to show all the juiciest mechanics for a game. And he wouldn't be waiting forever. So introduce your mechanics as fast as you can. Also, I think that this paradox is connected with the Las Vegas effect. The players are simply attracted by a huge variety of opportunities in the game. When the players see that there is much more than just bare core gameplay, they find it easier to find something for themselves to stay. Then there is events and additional mechanics and discounts and everything else. They just stay in your game longer, obviously. Moving to the next one. This is the most painful one. Failed first will most likely fail again. Yes, it's quite painful. Our experience shows that if events don't perform from the start, they won't get significantly better no matter what you do. You may disagree with that, but these exceptions only prove the rule. Initially, so yeah, I will show you a quick example, maybe not so quick, but yeah. I will show you an example of a Hopper-based event which we implemented into Clockmaker. So at first, we designed 3 locations in this event, and players had to go through them one by one. Each next location needed to be played more and more tries than the previous one, and players were able to gather energy for playing during match 3 levels at and in the events shop. After we launched this event, results was below our expectations. So we did another iteration. We have increased number of locations. We started rotating them. We got rid of strict narrative content and stopped selling energy in the events shop. Yet results hardly improved. So we decided to give it last one go. We redesigned those locations and added some mechanics, for example, like timer, which made our simplified hidden object regime closer to hidden object games, real ones. But almost nothing have changed. So we failed. We can spend a lot of time debating what we did wrong and why, but practice made us clear. If an event does not resonate with your core audience for the first time, nothing will save it from failure. Quite often, we tend to give mechanics like a second chance. Because we feel that we can identify those potential issues with the design we had. We tend to hold to our ideas in general. But it's very important at this point to feel that thin line between emotional attachment and believing in your product. And this will help you to understand the moment you should abandon not performing thing. Teachers at schools sometimes say us that we should redo something until we reach desired result. But in game industry, it's sometimes better to turn the page and learn from your mistakes. Narrative matters. At least someone said it loud. Certainly, the narrative plays an important role. But what do we mean by narrative and how does it affect our product? Let me read definition of the narrative from the Wikipedia. Narrative is any account of series or of related events or experiences presented through a sequence of written or spoken words, through still or moving image, or through any combination of these. Sounds a bit complicated, yes, I know. But the most important thing here, that it's related events or experiences. Related. For both game and the player, this is the fundamental aspect of the narrative. It's just not a wrapper of text or graphics. In a well-crafted event, all things, all components should work together in harmony. Let me show you how it works on a couple of examples. So, these are 2 of our competitive events. On the left, it's an old tournament where you need to collect bonuses, lightnings, bombs, and crosses to compete with other players. Here, narrative is quite simple. You faced with juggler from Traveling Circus who asks you to collect those bonuses, and they represented as risky juggling objects. As you can see, there is no culture references, deep gameplay integration, or narrative logic. It's just a setting, character, and a task. So after we launched this event, it performed well, but players hadn't something to remember, and the event burned out quickly. And on the right, you can see another tournament. This is a new tournament where you need to just collect lightnings, but it represented as a battle between Tesla and Edison. Here we create a solid logical link between game mechanics, narrative, and characters. So you basically what you need to do is to collect those lightnings to power Tesla or Edison devices to win the race of the progress. The more lightning you collect, the stronger the chance of winning the competition. And I need to say that this event exceeded our expectations. So, in a well-created event, game mechanics, meta gameplay, and presentation connected in narrative wrapper could sometimes do more than just bare gameplay covered with some graphics. And the last one, but not the least, always ask your players. Collect feedback, conduct surveys, follow a player's post in the community. Many teams neglect this opportunity because in today's world, all decisions are data-driven, and data-driven approach dictates the use of data as a main tool for decision-making. But numbers can't always tell what people really like. So we have been experimenting with our regular events. It's chains of 20 levels with a plot. So we conducted a survey where we asked our players to say what events they liked before and what topics or what events they would like to see in the future. Of course, the responses were quite diverse and were difficult to process, but we able to identify some themes that concerned our players. It was animals and ecology. This kind of surprised us because, as you can see, Clockmaker is a mystical game about characters in a Victorian era setting fighting against time anomalies. And it was very hard to assume that such topics really interested our players, because it's quite different from the main theme. So after a little brainstorming, we created a new character, Moonfox. Moonfox were captured by Clockmaker for his evil experiments. So we launched this event, and the response was huge. Players liked both the character and the plot. So without much hesitation, we decided to incorporate ecology them, and we created another event where Moonfox led us to a polluted creek, and we needed to save it from Clockmaker. The ratings and engagement metrics of this event were significantly higher than our regular narrative stories. So, as you can see, sometimes it's better to ask than guess for yourself. So let's wrap it up. Fill your schedule and then experiment. This will help to create alternative goals in-game and maximize your RPU. Follow Nintendo's rule. Easy to learn, hard to master. This will help to create the best events in your game's history. Reuse and loop good content. Sometimes it's even better than create a new one. Introduce juiciest mechanics first. The sooner, the better. You don't have much time to do this. Don't hold to failed ideas. Learn and turn the page. It's painful, but sometimes it's more effective. Apply the narrative smartly. It should resonate with the whole thing. Good logical connection, make it differ. And don't forget to ask your players. It's sometimes better to ask than guess. So thank you. And remember, make good games and don't make bad ones. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. All right, do we have any questions in the audience? I'm here to pass you the microphone. Anyone? Please? Okay, I'll be the first one. Never mind.
Thank you for very interesting speech. Very simple questions. What is your favorite free-to-play games, except of Clockmaker? Because it's the best.
For now, it's Frozen City and Whiteout Survival. Yeah.
Hi, good presentation. I agree with a lot of your points. I was wondering, how did LiveOps help make your game stay relevant for all these years? Because I see you introduced them in 2018, maybe a little bit earlier. So what was that?
Well, we introduced all of those events along all that time. We haven't stayed just at the moment where we just created all those events and stopped. Every update of the game, it was like 1 month or 2 months for a regular update. We had a new event, and we also added tons of content during that phase. So it's like constant work. It's not that point that you just made some amount of the content and relaunched it for the whole game's life.
Okay, thank you.
More questions? Okay, then it's my turn. I wanted to ask you, so how do you measure the effectiveness of LiveOps? So, yeah.
Well, it's bare analytics. So we just see how RPU rises after we launch those events. We conduct A/B tests. So after event just created, we see the difference in the control group and the test group with a new event, and only after that we launch the event for the whole games auditor.
Okay, and at which moment does the player feedback comes into this?
Usually, after we globally launch the event, we have some posts in our community groups, and we have tons of comments about how they feel about new events. So we sometimes ask them questions directly. We create surveys through Google Forms, and basically that's it.
Okay, thank you. That's very neat into details. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for coming.